Why exactly did Anakin think that Padme was trying to kill him? Greetings again, curious acolytes of the Force, back to the archives. The fateful final meeting between Padme Amidala and Anakin Skywalker devolved extremely quickly, especially after Anakin discovered that Obi-Wan had stowed away on Padme's ship. As soon as Anakin sensed his presence and saw Kenobi, he immediately flew off the handle and began accusing Padme of betraying him, despite the fact that she was clearly just as shocked as he was. Even though she denied it vehemently, Anakin was still blinded by rage and ended up force choking her. Even though we know how this all turns out and how dark-side Anakin conducted himself, what exactly convinced him that his wife was trying to kill him? And what is the greater information that we can learn from the novelization Revenge of the Sith? Why did Anakin automatically assume that she would just betray him like this? The answer to this mystery, my friends, is one that we will solve today in this holocron. One of the major reasons Anakin turned to the dark side for unleashing Darth Vader in the first place had always been for Padme. This is something that I think is often understated when it comes to his transformation. It was just that he disagreed with how the Republic was running, nor was it exclusively because of his disillusionment with the Jedi High Council. All of these things played major roles in his decision to turn. That is very true. But if Palpatine had approached him about joining the dark side based off of either of these single factors, then Anakin would not have joined him and would have instead turned him into the Jedi immediately. All of Palpatine's manipulations to turning Anakin away from the Jedi path hinged on the fact that Padme was the reason that Anakin despised the High Council. The Council refused to make him a Jedi Master, and because of this, he wasn't able to access the holocron vault that was exclusively for Masters of the Order. Within this vault would likely held the knowledge that Anakin believed would save Padme from death. But his hatred went far beyond this. It was the Jedi High Council that would have banned him from the Order if he ever publicly came out with Padme. The scandal of it all would cause problems for their family, and if he tried to keep it a secret, then his children would be basically growing up without their father. The point is, everything started and stopped with Padme, and this is where the truth comes out. Vader's fury towards his wife can be traced back to more manipulations from Sidious. In the novelization of Revenge of the Sith, it says this on the Mustafar account: Palpatine was right. Sometimes it is the closest that we cannot see. I loved you too much, Padme. I loved you too much to see what you truly are. This quote is in reference to an earlier conversation between Skywalker and the Chancellor following a political meeting. Palpatine essentially explained to Anakin that the slow knife went undetected, and it is those closest to us that threaten to betray us the most. While Palpatine at the time was speaking vaguely of politics, the subtext that he was conveying to Anakin had the desired effect. In Skywalker's mind, the two people he was thinking about were Obi-Wan and Padme. Obi-Wan, who had asked him to spy on the Chancellor, betraying the trust that he had in his friend, and then Padme, who he later found out was a part of the delegation of 2000. This was an extremely important political movement put in place by Mon Mothma and Bail Organa, which was demanding that Palpatine be relieved of his emergency powers as soon as possible now that the war was almost over. This was a secret that Padme kept from Anakin because she didn't trust him entirely either and knew how close he was to the Chancellor. But when he discovered that she was politically moving against his friend and the man he believed to be a savior of the Republic, it shook his trust in Padme completely. Palpatine is not a fool, and he knew plenty well that Padme was one of the few that stood against him, and used this leverage against Anakin to convince him to embrace the darkness, and eventually betray Padme. Once Anakin was no more, and Darth Vader remained, Padme would quickly become a stumbling block in his journey towards absolute darkness. Vader was on a power trip from first tasting the dark side and getting his revenge on the Jedi. Even while doing Sidious's will, Anakin was already making plans to get rid of Sidious and rule the galaxy with Padme as his queen. This was made apparent when we read the venomous thoughts that Anakin has while speaking to Palpatine on the hologram on Mustafar. In Skywalker's mind, he was mocking Sidious's advice and imagining himself as the Master, the Emperor. Then, of course, this is what Anakin said to Padme on the docks: I'm more powerful than the Chancellor. I can overthrow him. Then we can rule the galaxy, make things the way we want them to be. But the thing is, even if Anakin didn't immediately overthrow the Emperor in Padme's honor, then Padme would appeal to Anakin's heart, and possibly turn him from darkness like Luke would do many years later. What's insane about this interaction, though, is that Palpatine knew it would happen, and Palpatine had actually seen the Shatterpoint of this event. This absolutely would have been a problem for Sidious, but if he killed her instead, outright, if he could push Anakin to not trust her, and even have Anakin kill her himself, that would push him over the edge completely. That would be the final piece of Palpatine's monster. Palpatine had to treat this part of the Shatterpoint with particular care, and would not wait until it was too late to begin planting the seeds of doubt within Skywalker. First, he would attack what was easiest, the Jedi High Council. Next, he would turn Skywalker against Obi-Wan, and then finally, Padme. Once Sidious completely isolated Anakin and had Anakin's trust completely focused on himself, Palpatine was ready to make his move, and this was why it was the perfect time to reveal himself as a Sith Lord. All of this, though, had to be a secondary effect of securing Vader's place within the dark side, ensuring that his friends, his loved ones, would never be able to bring him back no matter what they said, because they had already lost his trust. The reason Skywalker believed that Padme was there to kill him was because she had lost his trust. On top of this, though, right before Padme's ship landed on Mustafar, Palpatine warned Vader that he felt Vader was in grave danger. At first, Vader brushed this off and went to meet Padme with confidence, so when she begins to cry and tell him that Obi-Wan told her all of these terrible things, he thought back not only to the conversation that he had with his master, but Palpatine's premonition that he was in danger. Immediately, Anakin believes that she has just tried to get him to lower his defenses so that she could help Obi-Wan assassinate him. The dark side clouds the light, but love clouds the darkness. This is why Anakin did not sense Obi-Wan's presence until he was literally standing right before his eyes. At that moment, he thought he'd been tricked, which is exactly why he lashed out so violently against his wife and became blinded by fury. The love he had for Padme blinded him to Obi-Wan's presence, and Obi-Wan knew this. But my acolytes and friends, what do you think of this tragic explanation? Does it now make more sense that Anakin believed that Padme was there to kill him? As always, my friends, may the Force be with you always, and I hope to see you soon.